Hey everybody, it's Sam with Wrestling Overtime, and this is your Raves and Rants review podcast for WWE Smackdown on April 17th of 2020. We started off tonight with Corey Graves and Michael Cole being back in their rightful places in the announcer's booth with us having, live wrestling. I can't tell you how happy I am, number one, to have a two-man booth back, because obviously the last wrestling show that I ended off with was JR calling Jake Hager and John Moxley alone. And I told you guys how I felt about that, how I felt that he didn't have anybody to play off of, and he just went to the Oklahoma Sooners well one too many times. So I'm glad to have Corey Graves back, pushing Michael Cole's buttons and creating some interesting topics that, I at least want to hear about. The show started off with Gorillas and Nikki Cross coming out to do a moment of bliss. There for a moment I thought that they were going to talk about themselves. I really did. But no, they decided to bring out the Universal Champion, Braun Strowman. And, still don't know how I feel about this. Still feel like it needs to be on the Fiend, that it never should have been given to Goldberg, for Goldberg to give it to Roman Reigns. And then, the pandemic started, so he had to give it to Braun Strowman. I can't get a good feel on whether WWE truly has bought into the fact that they made a serious mistake taking the belt off the Fiend, and whether they are just going to give it back to him, or whether they're going to see if Braun Strowman really can be the face of SmackDown, if he can show the potential that he truly has. I don't know whether he can. I really don't. And I think that just comes from hearing things about every time they give him a push, he does something. He shows up late for meetings. He, says something wrong on social media or to the press, or, he acts inappropriate backstage, or he says something unprofessional in front of Vince, or whatever. And I'm really hoping that he's learned his lesson, but I just don't know. And so I don't know where to take the announcement that they made tonight that Bray Wyatt is going to take on Braun Strowman at Money in the Bank in 3 weeks. And part of me feels like the Universal Championship here has been bopping around for the last, 2 months, and that we need someone to actually hold it, to stabilize it, to legitimize it, to get it back going, since Brock has had it, the Fiend had it, and it just got taken from him so quickly without really any kind of build. And so, I don't know. I liked Braun's promo. It was typical Braun, as far as, I know him very well, and he was part of the Wyatt family, and, he doesn't understand how well I know him, and all I know is he's going to get these hands. Typical Braun stuff. However, the surprise of the night was that Braun kind of looked back and saw a gift that he thought was from Alexa. He thought that she had remembered Team Big Little, and of course, Alexa doesn't go that deep. And with her being a heel and basically Braun being a babyface, yeah, she wasn't getting him a present. But anyway, he brings it over and he's telling her thank you, and she's like, I didn't do this. He should have known. He had just given us a promo about how manipulative Bray Wyatt was. Well, he should have known who the present was from. And he opens it up, and it is his old Wyatt family mask of the Black Sheep. And all of a sudden we hear, Bray Wyatt's laugh. Kind of what's going to be in his path. What Bray Wyatt is going to do to him is obviously bring up his past, and his past leads to Bray. And probably one of his biggest failures, was number one, getting involved with Bray, but number two, staying involved with Bray, and number three, getting away from Bray. So I'm interested to see what The Fiend actually kind of does for that. But our first match of the night was Sasha Banks and Tamina. Now, Sasha came out and had Bayley by her side. However, Bayley joined Corey and Michael Cole on the announcer's table to kind of talk about the match. And she, basically played off her throwing Sasha under the bus last week. And, where she told Tamina, oh yeah, you can have a championship match if you beat my good friend Sasha Banks, And Sasha gave her the look like, what? But, Sasha got in there and really tried to give it to Tamina. But they have finally been using Tamina correctly. Say that. I really didn't. But somebody backstage, some producer, some agent, whatever, whoever helps her work out her matches, has really gotten into her head and told her, be comfortable with who you are. Use who you are. And so she's using power now. She's throwing Sasha around the ring. She's doing things like slams, power slams, or clotheslines, or, putting her in different positions to break her into two and stuff like that. And so that was interesting to see that Tamina has actually made almost a change in philosophy. She doesn't need to climb to the top rope and dive across the ring to do a frog splash or whatever that they had her doing before she got hurt. It's just ridiculous. Let her be the power that she is. And so then we saw, Sasha, of course, get a little bit of offense. But basically, Tamina started taking over. Well, Bayley got up from the announcer's table kind of to create a distraction, interfere, whatever you want to say. But we immediately hear the siren, and, Lacey Evans comes out and gets involved with Bayley, and that leads to Sasha kind of getting a little distracted, and Tamina pulled off the victory tonight. Now, how do I feel about that? I think it's interesting. I think that they built up a good story with these four women, being in the 5-way match 2 weeks ago. And Sasha and Bayley having to work together in order to get rid of Lacey, and then them kind of changing Tamina's character to be more powerful. I think we've got a decent little story here, especially since they announced that Sasha has to take on Lacey Evans next week in a Money in the Bank qualifier match. And so I think that's interesting. Who are you going to root for? Do you want to vote for the Marine, the veteran, Lacey Evans, who's finally made the change over to babyface, but is more of a kick your butt and take your name kind of babyface? Or do you want to root for Sasha to go full on heel and go after Bayley? Because you know that if she's in the Money in the Bank qualifier, it's going to put a big strain on hers and Bayley's relationship. And is that going to lead to them at SummerSlam? And if that's the match you want, I think you have to root for Banks next week. I don't know where I stand yet. I'll get back to you. But anyway, after that, we were, shown Lacey Evans walking backstage and cutting a promo basically on Sasha and how she's going to repay her. And, she held up the woman's right, and of course it had the no sign to the word Sasha across her hand. And kind of struggled with what this means. Lacey didn't really explain it, and she's never did it as far as I know. So I guess the women's right is going to make no more Sasha. I don't know. It was a really short promo, thank God, and we kind of moved on. Then we got Sheamus with Denzel DiGiorno. And no, it's not spelled like the pizza. But it was, a very quick match. As most of Sheamus's matches have been since he came back. Which is a little shocking to me. I feel like Sheamus went away with an injury, rehabbed it, got ready, but WWE wasn't really ready for him. And he took that time to really better himself, to get into shape, really get stronger, get his diet under control, do a lot of different things like that. So I hate it. On one hand, I hate it that WWE is having him do these short matches when I have seen from Twitter and from Instagram and places how hard he's been working to get in shape, to get his cardio down. These short matches don't help his cardio. However, I do kind of like that they're building him up to be this monster. This someone that can finish someone quickly and dominantly almost. I was a little afraid when he started messing around with Chad Gable and Apollo Creed and making fun of their height, that was going to be kind of the gimmick that Sheamus did. But, thankfully they didn't do that. And so, in this match, he made this guy pay. And it was pretty, quick. Like I said, Sheamus really showed his brutal nature of punishing him. And then, after he wins, Michael Cole doesn't really give him his just due and immediately starts talking about Jeff Hardy. And where they're sitting so close and there's obviously no audience, Sheamus can hear him. And I liked Sheamus became extremely upset. And how can I tell was he extremely upset? Because he's a redhead. And, I mean, his whole body went red. His face went red. I mean, all down his neck and everything. And he was like, how dare you do this to me again? You did it to me last week. Last week you started talking about Jeff Hardy as soon as my match is over, and you're doing it again this week. And you're basically just insulting me. And I don't really understand it. And he really went after Michael Cole. And I like that. I like that, he's putting the announcers on blast about what they announce about him. But the reason why Michael Cole was talking about Jeff Hardy is because they did a Jeff Hardy promo, which was a video package. They started it last week, and then, the second part is this week, and then the third part is next week. It almost looks like they're showing snippets or parts of a 24 special that they're going to have on the WWE universe, or maybe they've already put it out. I'm not exactly sure. I didn't look before I came on the air. But they're taking different topics and kind of going into them. But they're only showing you, like I said, snippets. So we've got one where Jeff is doing numerous crazy stunts that he is known for. And then it flashes to him admitting that what started out to be a drinking problem then became a pain pill problem, dealing with his injuries and dealing with the pain and the traveling and having to perform and everything. He has never really admitted to anything else. But he went into more detail than I've heard on WWE shows about, his addiction, and they showed different people talking. For instance, they showed Kristen talking about how him and Edge always went up against the Hardy Boys, but yet he really didn't know what was going on because addicts are such good liars. We saw the Big Show talking. We saw Samoa Joe talking. Jeff then goes on to kind of detail his arrests, that happened from 2009 all the way up until, a couple months ago, and how he went to rehab. And that's kind of where it ends, because they're picking up next week. Week 3 is going to be kind of Jeff Hardy's redemption and, his comeback, I guess. I look for him to do his debut soon, and I guess they're building it up for Sheamus. So I'm a little bit interested because their styles are so different of what they can kind of pull off. Then we see another promo of Carmella really taking it to Dana Brooke and asking her, why are you in the Money in the Bank qualifier? Why are you not really concentrating on tag team? And that's when we find out that Carmelo and Dana Brooke are now a tag team, and that they have been awarded a tag team championship bout next week against Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss, and Carmella wants her to be focused. Well, Dana Brooke's response is, I think, what any wrestler's response is going to be. I can do both. I, can focus on this match tonight, and then I have 7 days to focus on the tag team match. And so her standing up to Carmella, I thought was interesting. Kind of foreshadowed what was ahead, but really was impressed. We haven't seen that side of Dana Brooke in a long, long time. Of course, then we get the Money in the Bank qualifier match between Dana Brooke and Naomi. And I'll just be real honest with you. With her athleticism and how good she was, I couldn't see Dana Brooke even staying in the same ring as Naomi. However, as good as Naomi was looking before she took her leave of absence to stay at home, bond, and be there with her family, I don't know that since she's come back that she's really set the world on fire. I don't know that she is truly focused, maybe, if that's something that I can question, because in her matches, it just seems like she's not gotten back into the flow. Maybe that's a good way to kind of put it. This turned out to be a pretty decent match, almost a good match. It was better than a normal Dana Brooks match where she ends up being a jobber. We even see, Naomi get her finisher on her, and Dana Brooke kicked out, which shocked Naomi. But I enjoyed Dana Brooke almost immediately climbing up and winning this over Naomi with a sunset flip. I don't know. A part of me found that a little amusing. And I started thinking, maybe WWE, since they trimmed a lot of the wrestlers, a lot of the writers, a lot of the production people, maybe they'll go back to being leaner and meaner, and we can start seeing some stuff. Then they started previewing. And, of course, the first thing that they wanted to preview for next week is that they are going to be celebrating Triple H. He's been in the business for 25 years, and they want to celebrate that. Now, I hope this does not turn into a Triple H show all of his old videos. I don't want to see that. I don't care for them to do, a 15-20 minute segment of him celebrating in the ring. I don't have any problems with that. But I don't want to see a whole show of him. And they've named some matches already, so hopefully they definitely don't. However, tonight they also gave out how Money in the Bank is going to be ran. Which rumors started out probably late last night and then all day today of what exactly was being done with Money in the Bank. And people, didn't understand that. They had some insiders leak some information that it was going to be held at WWE headquarters, and a lot of people couldn't figure that out. And so the Money in the Bank contest is actually going to be held at WWE headquarters. And from what I understand, they're going to run in and find basically how to get up through the building at WWE headquarters and climb on top of the roof of headquarters, where there's going to be a ladder to get to the briefcase. I have no idea what this is going to look like. I mean, is this going to be a bunch of people getting shoved down the stairs? People are going to get caught in the elevators? Are we going to see someone almost topple off the roof? That would kind of be cool. But kind of interested in this gimmick, running through a building to get to the roof. So, a little interested. Then we got the Otis and Mandy saga. I'm so tired of this. Can I tell you how tired I am of this? Am I tired of Otis and Mandy? No. I'm tired of this video. They literally rewound everything. They started back at Christmas and showed us every step. I mean, they even showed us Otis slicking his hair over, getting ready for the date. I'm done with that video. Can we burn it now? They got together. Yippee yahoo. Can we cut off the first at least 2/3 of it and just show kind of the ending moving forward? Can we get some movement from this story? Well, I kind of got what I asked for. I wanted some movement. I wanted, where is this going? It's kind of what I've been asking. So we see Sonya Deville come out. And who knew? She has her own music. I was a little shocked that she did not have her hair up for a fight. She was normally dressed and had her hair down and everything. But she stated that she couldn't get a hold of Mandy and that she wanted to give a public explanation for what's going on. And she basically begs for Mandy to come out to the ring and talks about how they've been friends for 5 years and it started with Tough Enough and they decided to create Fire and Desire. And then we finally see Mandy come out. And Mandy comes out with this attitude like, I don't really want to hear your apologies. She comes off with this, you did me wrong thing. And I think she thought that Sonya was going to bare all and bare her feelings. And I know a lot of people on the internet thought that Sonya was going to say, oh, Mandy, I'm in love with you and all that. Well, I think if you watch Total Divas and you really have heard Sonya talk or anything, I think you knew that wasn't going to happen. She didn't want to have that kind of storyline with Mandy. So Sonya looks at her and says, you are the most selfish person I've ever been around. And then she proceeds to talk about how Mandy never cared about her and never noticed anything and never really cared about Fire and Desire being a team. She talks about how she's came out to Mandy's music for a year now. They never created a Fire and Desire theme song or outfits or anything like that it was always Mandy the Golden Goddess and everything. And Sonya then says that she basically just wants to hurt her and ruin her life. So Mandy says she's glad that she slapped Sonya last week. So immediately Dolph comes out and starts apologizing and he goes to touch Mandy and Mandy's just like, no, don't be touching me. So Sonya, out of nowhere, decks her. And of course Otis has to come out. And while he's running Dolph out of the ring, Sonya jumps on Otis's bike and Mandy has to save Otis by pulling Sonya off and everything. Well, Dolph comes in and blindsides Otis and Otis control and just starts beating him and does the caterpillar and then elbows him. So we see Dolph and Sonya kind of slinking off. Here's my main question. If anybody knows the answer to this, please write me at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com. Hit me up on Twitter or Facebook on Wrestling Overtime. Otis, if you're listening, please write me. Why, when they were walking away, does Elvis or Otis, I know why I said Elvis because of what I'm going to say, but why does Otis always have to do his little pelvic thrusts and stick his tongue out and wiggle it and just be gross? And why does he not have a shirt on? Put your shirt on, Otis. We don't want to see it. I don't want to see him pelvic thrusting, and I don't want to see his tongue. And Mandy, being the strong, independent, empowerment woman that she claims to be in her real life, should not put up with that garbage. She needs to say, you need to stop that. That's demeaning. It's offensive. Quit. But I'll wait until she does. But somebody, please write me, like I said, wrestlingovertime@gmail.com, and tell me, what is Otis doing? So we go from Otis pelvic thrusting straight into Michael Cole, who gives a dedication and memorandum to Hierofinkel. And they run a video package that is really nice and that says a lot about him. You know, of course, he was the ring announcer in my childhood, and I remember him from that. So I hated to hear that he had passed away. But WWE did a really good job of honoring him. And then we get a Miz promo. And he does typical Miz. He thinks it's a real injustice to Miz and Morrison. And I agree with him. It's not a pose to agree with a heel. But you know what? I do agree with Miz. Number one, it was stupid for them to defend those tag team championships at WrestleMania with a one-on-one match, not actual tag team matches, since they're the tag team titles. But like he said, it is a real injustice to Miz and Morrison to do this again 2 weeks later. They're putting them in a triple threat match, the opposite ones of the tag team, and it's basically ridiculous, and it's a filler, and it just drives me crazy. But anyway, we get a video package of the Forgotten Sons. For anyone who did not watch them in NXT or flip the channel like I did, because I don't care about them. I can tell you right now, they're going to be lumped right in there with the War Raiders. I don't care. I want them off my TV. I am not interested in them. Not even a little bit. Then we get a really, really good match. I expected it to be as soon as I saw that it was going to be a match tonight, but it turned out to be a good match. Cesaro come out with Shinsuke and took on Daniel Bryan, who come out with Drew Gulak. And these two, were doing the Money in the Bank qualifying match. And in the beginning, it was interrupted by the truth will be heard. And we're going to find out some new information on, I don't know, Shinsuke, or that Drew's been talking bad about Daniel Bryan, or he's gave a scouting report to them, or something. Well, no, the truth will be heard basically just showed us short snippets of different people and didn't tell us anything. But when we came back from commercial, they had started the match and everything. This was a technical wrestling match. I mean, I don't know any other way to describe it. There wasn't a storyline here. Cesaro and Daniel Bryan, as far as I know, don't really have any beef. Yes, Daniel Bryan and Sammy do, and Sammy's part of Cesaro's faction, but I don't know that that's enough to have this big story or this big match, you know? So, it was a good match, like I said, if you just want to watch wrestling. If you want a big storyline and you want progression in a storyline, yeah, you didn't get that. But anyway, Cesaro tapped to the yes lock. But I guess the kicker was, as he was being put in the yes lock, Shinsuke tried to interfere and Drew Gulak grabbed him before he could break anything up. So, there was that, but otherwise, not really any big deals. Then we get a Big E promo, and he said how great Kofi did in the ladder match at WrestleMania, but tonight Kofi is home and he wants him to set in his lazy boy as they become the 8-time tag team champs, and of course does the whole, speech about the new day. Then we see Elias walking down the hallway, and I guess he's going to sing us a song or whatever, but we see Baron Corbin come out of nowhere basically and jump him. And I still don't know what to think of this. We still don't have a story. We still don't understand. From what Corbin was saying as he was beating on Elias, stepping on his hand, trying to break his playing hand, and hitting him with his scepter in the stomach and the head, basically wants people to bow down to him because he is their king. Well, isn't that kind of the same storyline that we've got going on Raw with Seth Rollins being the Messiah? So, do we need two stories like this? I don't know. And I definitely don't know that it needs to be done with Baron Corbin and Elias. I don't know. I don't really like this program. I wish Baron Corbin would move on to someone else. Anyway, they talk about next week. Of course, it will be Triple H's celebration, but we're also going to have a Money in the Bank qualifier between Baron Corbin and Drew Gulak. We're going to have a women's Money in the Bank qualifier between Sasha Banks and Lacey Evans. And then we're going to have a tag team championship match with Carmelo and Dana Brooke versus Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross for the tag team championships. And as soon as I saw that, I thought, they're not going one-on-one for tag team championships. They're not going to throw a ladder in there. They're not going to do, some gimmick match where only one of them gets put in. I mean, it's just so ridiculous that you have tag team title belts and you're not having the tag team go and defend them or try to win them. Just craziness. And then next week we're also going to get the history of Braun and Bray Wyatt from the get-go up until now is, basically what they said. And then we got the main event, which was Big E versus Jey Uso versus The Miz in a tag team championship triple threat match. I said it before, I'm going to say it again. I agree with Miz. This should not be happening, especially 2 weeks after we just saw it. I know it's different people, same teams, though in these are tag teams. But this turned out to be a really good match also. It was a lot better than the ladder match. I really enjoyed this match tonight. I felt that the Superstars choreographed it a lot better as far as when they came in and out, when they double teamed, when they did certain stuff. Really enjoyed that. Liked how Miz locked the figure four on Jey Uso and almost had him ready to tap, and he was really fighting it until Big E could come in there, break it up. And then Big E did the big ending over Miz. And so the New Day wins the belts for the 8th time in a row. Let me repeat that. New Day the belts for the 8th time in a row. I almost find that hard to believe, especially when Michael Cole followed it up with the Dudleys have held them 9. And in my opinion, in my memory, in my heart, I don't think New Day is as good as the Dudleys. So for them to be one win away, I don't know how I feel about that. I really don't. And then when you think about it, the Usos are 2 away because they've held the belt 7 times. And I'm just like, I think we put the belt on too many people for shorter periods of time now, and it just doesn't make it worth it. We don't build long-term storylines and let people keep the belt 6 months, a year, 2 years. When was the last time someone kept the belt for 2 years? It's just crazy. Well, you know, this is under an hour, and I've been trying to keep these under an hour. I want to make sure that you guys know that if you have any questions, comments, problems, or protests, please write me at Wrestling Overtime or hit me up on Wrestling Twitter or Facebook page. I will be more than happy to talk to you guys. The first thing that I need you guys to do, go subscribe to this podcast. Make sure that you get all your latest episodes, all your reviews, all your results, all your news. I keep saying, and I hope that I'm going to get to it this weekend, especially since Being the Elite is having a big episode, number 200. They're going to release on Monday. I keep saying that I'm going to go back to episode 1 of Being the Elite. I'm going to take a couple of them, watch through them, and kind of give you guys a synopsis. And then take a couple more and kind of make it a series that you guys are going to get. I haven't started it. I am sorry. I hope to get that started this weekend and get it out to you guys, at least, you know, the first installment. I want to definitely do that, because if you're like me and you weren't into Being the Elite, the series, right from the get-go, you may have missed little inside stories or jokes or whatever that they put in there. And so I'm really wanting to go back and experience that. So looking forward to that. So make sure you subscribe so that you can get all the latest podcast episodes. But the next thing I need you guys to do is go rate and review at Podchaser. Podchaser right now, every time you do a review on any podcast, I'm not talking just mine, but on any podcast, they are donating money to Meals on Wheels for coronavirus victims, and they have extended that out, and they're going to continue doing it longer. So please go rate this episode that you just listened to, but I encourage you to also go rate other podcasts and other episodes that you've listened to so that we can get even more money donated, there are some companies that are matching that. So really take an effort with the weekend coming up to sit down at Podchaser, for an hour or so. They don't have to be long reviews, but rate and review the different podcasts that you listen to and the different episodes so that money can be donated to this charity. And then I want to make sure that I take the time to thank you guys for listening and for being with me and bearing with me and putting up with me learning how to do this podcast medium and actually kind of putting up with my views. I know that some views are not wildly held by the majority. And so hopefully I'm giving you guys enough reasons to understand, even if you don't agree with me, but at least understand why I think the way I do and the way I feel the way I do. So I have enjoyed spending this time with you guys, and I look forward to talking to you guys again real soon.